There's been many great university players that have made the roster of the Minnesota North Stars, especially 1970s and 1980s. But this guy is a kind of unique situation because as soon as he's drafted by Minnesota, he decided to take a year off to finish his educational degree because he wanted a career after hockey. But when he put his mind to it as a hockey player, not only became an NHLer, he was also active in the Allan Cup chases in the 1970s and early 80s. He was a AHL stalwart, a good-minded pro, a dynamite individual, a very learned guy that a lot of people looked up to, and he's been a role model for many people. So today we're going to be talking about the man from Kitchener, Ontario, who was the captain of the Rangers and also was the Rookie of the Year in the late 1960s. Of course, we have to be talking about the big left winger, Dave Cressman. Now 6'1", 180, big left wing shot. Broke in with the OHA's Rangers in 1969 with 29 goals in 54 games with 55 points. He was Rookie of the Year that season, and he had 3 assists in his first game, so he was ready to rock as soon as he arrived. Now, he was Kitchener's captain in 1970 because of his leadership on and off the ice, and he had 57 points that year in 50 games. Now, he also played center during his career, and that's what kept him diverse. Now, he did decide to not turn pro until he got his teaching degree from University of Guelph in 71, so Minnesota waited him. And that season he won the Allan Cup with the great Galt Hornets team that year in the campaign, and that team as well was later inducted into the Cambridge Sports Hall of Fame in 2004. Probably one of the most underrated Allan Cup winners of all time. Now, he, again, was destined to make the NHL, but it was a kind of a weird road. We'll talk about this in a little bit. Now, he was named to the IHL's All-Star second team with Saginaw in 74, and that was the first major prominence that we knew he was going to make it to the NHL. Now, Cressman's style of play was very unique because, like Tom Youngins, he could play offense, he could play defense. Now, he played on and off a number of seasons with the Galt Hornets of the OHA Senior League, but with Saginaw that year, he had, in that 74 campaign, 67 points in 75 games, including 32 goals. Now, in New Haven, he led all AHL players in the playoffs with 14 assists. He had 26 points in a regular season. A late call up to Minnesota, and he scored his first two goals in his NHL career in 5 games in 75. Now, in a full season in 1980 with Minnesota, he had 4 goals and 8 assists for 12 points with only a good defensive tally, a -4. Part of their defensive style that year, but like I said, eventually was sent back to New Haven. We had 56 points in 80 games. Now, ironically, he scored his first goal in his first NHL shift on March 23rd, 75. The counter, which bet future Hall of Fame goalie Billy Smith, came at 5:26 in the first period to give the Stars a 1-0 lead over the Islanders in a game that ended in a 3-3 tie. Now, he was also player head coach of the Cambridge Hornets team that lost to Spokane in the 1980 Allan Cup Final Series. Now, his coaching and teaching career is quite legendary, and we'll get into it in a little second. We talked about the fact he graduated with a teaching degree from the University of Guelph in 71. He also became a high school teacher in semi-retirement, like from playing, but not from coaching, focusing on special education in Kitchener, immediately following his return for hockey, and continued to teach in addition to working as an AC with the University of Waterloo. He also later became an on-ice instructor at the Hockey Ministries International Christian Hockey Camps, a very good program, after his coaching career. He also spent time working in the Cambridge MHA. Now, he was also named University of Waterloo's Athletic Coach of the Year for 1999, and again, he was named Cambridge Player Head Coach prior to the 80 season and remained there until the 81. He became Waterloo's, the OUAA Waterloo AC prior to the 93 season and remained there through the 98 campaign. He was then named head coach prior to '99 and remained there until 2003. He also was called in a pinch to serve as Odessa's interim head coach for the final 9 games of the team's 2003 CHL season, as well as the playoffs, when he subbed for an ailing Don McKay, who was having some heart trouble. And of course, Odessa in the CHL was a good squad that year. Now, he was named Conestoga College head coach prior to the 2004 season and remained there for the campaign. He was also named Cambridge OHA's associate coach on May 26, 2004 and stayed there until the 2006 season. He was also Cambridge's GM from 04 to 06 as a double over with his head coaching duties. Again, sat out the 71 season so he completed his studies, so he didn't go pro, and again Minnesota waited on him. And we're talking about that great defensive line from Minnesota with Craig Cameron and Steve Jensen for the 76 season. And boys, they shut down a lot of players with their defensive style. Now, he did come out of retirement to play 3 games for Cambridge as their coach in the 81 campaign. But where a lot of people remember him off the ice, of course, at the Grand River Collegiate Institute when he was teaching special education, he had quite a bit of link with his students and the community for his dedicated efforts to basically further develop the young people under his charge. So he was kind of a featured in a mini feature. I think it was the NHL magazine or whatever it was at the time when he first broke in that big campaign when he played 80 games, talking the fact he probably one of the most intelligent and learned hockey players in Minnesota history. I've heard from reliable sources he was probably the most interesting interview you could ever have, because any response he would give was quotable right away. Like, usually think hockey players were talking cliches, but from what I heard, he was extremely good with the media because he respected how the players and the media have to work together to promote what's going on with a team regarding to the offense, defense, playoff run, team development. So I would like to see Dave had played more seasons in the NHL, but he was so diverse, being involved in senior and minor hockey in the NHL, and there's not enough praise you can give to him because nothing but good things I've heard about him through the years. And Kitchener and Cambridge, if a lot of people already know, that's 2 of the biggest hockey hotbeds in all of Ontario, and anybody comes from both of the communities, you got to be good because the competition is intense. So that's the story of the great Dave Cressman. If you like what we're doing here, we're a North Stars Vintage Podcast. Let us know to like, comment, or subscribe. And it's kind of weird when Minnesota put on the big defensive thumb. I kept on thinking back to that line I just talked about. If Cressman would have scored more goals, I think he would have stayed. But defensive players at the time, if you could score 10 or 11 goals, you would stay. But you were scoring 4 to 6. It was strange back then. They wanted defensive players to really try to make as close to double figures as possible. But like I said, the talent was there. You don't play in the NHL and win all those titles and be at the cusp of AHL and other championship trophies without being good. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We're nearing 1,000 subscribers. That's the golden number. So if you really like what we're doing, let us know and give us a thumbs up, subscription, and we do appreciate you dropping by.